Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description.
Hello everybody. To begin with, the Marleys were dead, and the car world has changed. You see, regardless of whether our future is to be fully electric, combustion, hybrid, or a combination of all of the above, our universe is never to be the same again, because the old guard are under attack. Brands that just 10 years ago felt like they were to be with us forevermore now look to be stood on increasingly shaky ground. Sales targets are being missed, quarterly reports look increasingly worrying, and buyers are flocking to new faces from the East who have shown that it can be done better for less. We stand on a precipice. And of all of the European brands that seem in the most perilous of positions, it is the VW empire, because they have fumbled their transition to electric and they seem now weaker than ever before. So, how then are they taking the fight to their new Chinese rivals? Well, if it's with stuff like this, the Audi Q4 E-Tron, then the next video I make on them may well be their eulogy. And yes, it really is that bad. Stay tuned, this is going to be a bumpy ride. Now, before we get started, I can already sense some of you out there sharpening your keyboards, ready to tell me, "Oh, James Christ, another EV review. Why do you bother with those overpriced milk floats? They're all terrible. I'm never going to drive one in my whole life." Yeah, okay, cool. That's your opinion. Fine. But these are cars some people are interested in, including myself, and many of the issues that I have with EVs aren't actually the car's fault. In fact, of all the issues that I do have with this, the fact it is an EV doesn't even make the top 10. So if you really do hate EVs, stay tuned, because you're probably going to enjoy this video anyway. So then, where do we start? Well, on the face of it, the Q4 doesn't really do anything particularly wrong. Yes, sure, it's a mid-size SUV, but that is what the market wants. This is a little bit smaller than a Q5, meaning it's got enough room in it for 4 adults or 5 at a push, an okay-sized boot, and it's not daunting to drive on the B roads of Britain. Why is it that I've got this one in? Well, it's because my sister is on the hunt for a new daily. I have recommended to her an EV. More specifically, I've said she should take a look at the old first generation E-Tron, the car that was later rebranded as the Q8. She saw one and said, "Yes, I like the idea, but it's a bit big. What about the Q4? I said, "I don't know. I've not driven a Q4. I'll ask Audi," and here it is. And now I've mentioned it, let me discuss very quickly that original E-Tron, which I first got to sample just over 5 years ago. It was Audi's first foray into a full EV. And in spite of the fact that at this point every manufacturer was having to build themselves an electric car because we all knew the revolution was coming, it was a very half-hearted effort. It was built on a platform that wasn't designed to be an EV. So it was ludicrously heavy, didn't perform particularly well, and it was extraordinarily expensive, costing some £95,000 in top spec. And why is it I've told my sister to buy one of those? Well, because only 4 or 5 years later, you can now pick up that very same car for 18 grand. And at that price, I can forgive a lot of sins. It also just so happens that many of the issues that I had with the car don't apply to her. So that's the original E-Tron. But what about the much newer Q4? On paper at least, this is a big step forwards. It is now built on VW Group's MEB platform, so it's designed from the ground up to be an electric car. It weighs, because of that and its smaller size, some 600 kilos less than the E-Tron. So although it's got less power, around 280 horses in this base model variant, it'll still do 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds, and the economy figures claimed are fairly good too. It'll do, apparently, an average of 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. The old E-Tron struggled to do 2, and with a 77 kilowatt hour usable battery pack, it'll give you a range of anywhere between 250 and 350 miles. All fairly good. I even quite like this optional floret silver paintwork. There is, of course, plenty of technology of both the useful and less useful variety. So you've got wireless, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and all of the ADAS systems that we are now familiar with. Audi, I think, get it better than most because they've got a nice, simple system for disabling your lane keep assist. It's on one of the stalks, and if you want to customize the rest of it, just press a button and it brings up the screen, which, though it's now a few years old, is still decent, clear, high resolution, and I think one of the best in the business. At night, you can turn it off, the HVAC buttons are physical, and at a quick glance, there is a lot that I really do genuinely like about this car. In terms of charging ability, it's not quite as good as the old E-Tron. This base model is limited to 135 kilowatt charge, so it's fast but not ultra fast. Still, for most people, I think it's enough. And that, I am afraid, is the end of all of the nice things that I have to say about the Audi Q4 e-tron. For the rest of it, it's essentially a big tribute act to all of the stupid decisions that VW have made over the last decade. Where do we even begin? Well, let's start, as I'm here, with the charging port. There is only one of them. The original e-tron had two, one on each side, which makes life a little bit easier, particularly for somebody like myself that likes to reverse onto their driveway and has a charger over there. It's a small little thing, but something that I appreciate. Not many charging points have a particularly long cable, and only having one port does kind of limit your options on occasion when it comes to parking. That 135 kilowatt charge too, though yeah, sure, it is adequate for most people. If the original e-tron could do it 6 years ago, why can't this do it now? And the much cheaper Cupra-born VZ that I recently tested could also outperform this, taking up to a roughly 180 kilowatt charge. Okay, the more powerful variants of this can also do the same, but why can't the base model? This is, after all, an Audi. It's a premium product, or so we're told. Open the door and it gets worse still. Again, at a quick glance, all seems okay. You've got nice leather seats, which actually are pretty good. They hug you, they're nice and comfortable too, and they are leather. But the leather itself, if it is leather, it's just not quite as nice as some of the other stuff that Audi have in their higher end products. But that's okay, because this isn't a high-end Audi. What's not okay though, the controls on this wheel, because it's got touch sensitive ones. Now, you'll probably remember that when the Golf Mark 8 came out, they did the same thing. And it was such a popular decision that VW wound up firing the team responsible for it. The Mark 8 Golf came out in 2019. This launched 2 years later in 2021. So they had more than enough time to take on people's feedback and change it. But they didn't. You already know why everybody hates this. But allow me to show you some other daft design decisions. This whole stack down here is all really rather confusing. Your gear selector is fine. This little control here for the volume is kind of clever. The start-stop button is largely redundant, but I'm mostly looking below it. There's a little shelf here, a bit inaccessible, and I thought that's where you put your phone to charge it. Then I realised it's not really phone-sized, which is a bit stupid, and I thought, well, maybe this car doesn't actually even have wireless charging. Turns out that it does. It's down here. You have to put your phone in like so, and to stop your phone from moving, there's a plastic clip, which is going to scratch the hell out of your screen eventually, maybe even crack it if you're unlucky. Did nobody throughout the entire design process look at that and go, come on everybody, surely we could do better, surely we could put it in here or something like that? No. Speaking of scratchy, this is all right, but this kind of stuff doesn't really look or feel too premium. The wheel is actually okay, I'll give that a little bit of a pass. Unlike BMW, nice, thin, and I like the not quite perforated leather, but all this sort of stuff, it's not great. But I suppose that's okay for a mid-size SUV in its basic trim level. It even has, and I couldn't quite believe this myself, manually adjustable seats for both the driver and the passenger. Incredible. And this isn't the basic trim level. It is in fact the top model in the lineup. This is the black edition, so it has all the stuff from the S line and then some more. And then there's the price. This car, 60,000 quid. Well, to be fair to Audi, £59,590 once they've chucked a couple of options at it. Let me say that again. £60,000, or near as damn it, makes no difference, and you do not get electrically adjustable seats. You do not get soft closed doors. You do not get double glazing. You don't even get Quattro. Yeah, this is a rear wheel drive, and what in the blue blazes of tarnation is that a drum brake I see before me? Yes, it is. Apparently, Audi decided that because this car has a regen on account of being an EV and the front brakes do most of the work, they didn't need to put discs at the back. A drum will do just fine. In the £15,000 VW Up GTI, I felt drum brakes to be a bit of an insult. In a £60,000 car, they are having a laugh, and we are the punchline. That's ludicrous. There aren't 360-degree cameras, there is just a reversing one. There are sensors on it. The front seats are heated, but they're not ventilated. The rears get nothing. There is no panoramic sunroof, though you can option it, unlike the seats, which I did check, and unless the Audi configurator is lying to me, even if you go to town and tick all of the options for this car, you'll still get manual seats. It's 2025, Audi. Please, for your own good, stop resting on those laurels, lest we need to turn them into a wreath to chuck onto your grave. And just in case you were wondering, if you did want your Audi SUV with their trademark Quattro system, it's another 1,500 quid to have it with the same power output as this, or if you want it in 340 PS guys, still not a lot for a 2.1 ton car, that's another £6,500. And I figured, foolishly it turns out, that because this is the rear-engined, rear-wheel drive variant, that'd mean there's plenty of storage up front. No, there is in fact none whatsoever. They haven't even made it look neat and tidy. This is embarrassing, but historically, German brands like Audi, BMW and Mercedes have never been particularly good for giving you value for money. Instead, what they focused on is giving you quality, and that comes in two forms. Firstly, build, reliability, and secondly, the way that the thing drives. And on that first front alone, it's already looking pretty bad, because though on the whole Audis have a good reputation for reliability here in the UK, it would appear that maybe it's one they don't deserve anymore. Because, depending on which survey you look at, they rank anywhere from 8th to 28th in terms of driver satisfaction. Audis are no longer the dependable, brilliantly built things that they once were. Now, I should caveat this and say that when it comes to driver satisfaction surveys, they are tricky things, and minor issues with the infotainment and stuff like that can be counted the same as the thing bursting into flames. Regardless though, you don't want to go and dump £60,000 on a car only for your neighbour to tell you that Vauxhall beat them in the reliability survey. How then is it to drive? Yeah, about that. If I was feeling polite, I would say it's simply average. Goes as you would expect any kind of mid-size, mid-power EV SUV to go. But as you can probably tell, the Q4 has me in a very particular mood, so I don't really feel the need to be polite about it. And again, as with the spec sheet, here, for the money asked, it's just not good enough. And once again, where do we start? Well, I suppose let's stick to the basics for now. In terms of forward momentum, it's okay. Put your foot down, it responds fairly instantaneously, but you can see on the dash down here that it takes a while to give you all of the power. In reality though, on your average road here, up to the national speed limit, it's fine. The brakes, less so. They are consistently inconsistent. Very infuriating, and I swear they've been done by the same people that did them in the Cupra Born VZ. You see, in that and in this, you'll drive it, it'll seem absolutely fine, but then, mostly when you're out and about on national speed limit stuff, you'll put your foot down and it won't really respond in a particularly linear way. Sometimes it'll be okay, like it was there, but other times you'll ask it to do something, it won't feel like it's doing it, you put your foot down a little bit more, and it doesn't really feel like it's responding. Very disconcerting indeed. And the fact that they've then gone and stuck drum brakes on the back doesn't really fill me with confidence in the system either. That, I am sure, is entirely misplaced pessimism, but still, there's little details throughout the entirety of this car that tell you the people that built it just wanted to get home quickly. And that, to me, is not the reputation on which German cars have been built. Now, most of all the systems and stuff in here are absolutely fine. They kinda do their job. Annoyances with the touch-sensitive steering wheel controls aside, it's fine. Visibility is also a bit of an issue. Now, this is a problem common to many modern-day cars, and the B-pillar in here isn't too badly placed. I've certainly seen worse, but for rear three-quarter visibility on your passenger side, it's pretty bad. And these A-pillars, well, they seem to be near custom-made that in my driving position, they block some fairly important things. You do, of course, have a number of different driving modes, which you can access by pressing the button down here, and they include efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic, individual, and a special range mode. And all range mode does is limit your speed. That's it. I really don't know why modes like that exist in these cars, because if I want to drive slowly and conserve fuel or electricity, I'll drive slowly, thank you very much. And I've still got more to say. The ride of this thing, it's just not good enough. You may have already been able to see, but the whole car is constantly bouncing and fidgeting. It's just very, very undignified. There are a few little sections of road around here, which I know would be popular on the school run, and in this, they were near intolerable. It's not crashy or anything like that, but you're just bouncing down the road. And so, to see if I was doing something wrong, I went into the settings and checked what I could do for the suspension. The answer, nothing. And that does make the logo for Audi's Drive Select, which is a suspension strut, even more offensive, because if I go into individual mode, there are only two things I can alter: the drive system and the steering. That's it. Which, in all honesty, renders individual mode nearly redundant with so little to change. Compared with the Cupra Born that I had, that's a much cheaper car and had way more customization. If you do put the steering into dynamic, it gets a little bit of weight, and when you want to press on and have a little bit of fun, the car's quite enjoyable. But that's mostly because I just like driving. It'll do what you want, it turns in nicely enough and everything else, but this is not the sort of car built for people that really love driving. This is built for people that need a car, want to get from A to B and back again in comfort and with a bit of luxury. And for them, this is a terrible choice. If you want a nice, decent EV that's got plenty of features in it, room for the family, but you don't want something too big, I recently test drove the Kia EV3. The base model with the bigger battery was £36,000. And honestly, that's a car I'd much rather have on my driveway than this. On the other side of things, if the electric bit doesn't bother you and you just want a nice mid-sized luxury SUV experience, go and buy a Lexus NX. They're brilliant, and the Audi cannot hold a candle to the Lexus in terms of both build quality but also feel. The Lexus is amazing, and guess where you'll find them in the reliability survey? I think if this was Audi's first EV, as opposed to the E-Tron, and it's priced like it is, I might have had a little bit more tolerance for it, particularly because then the mathematics also worked in favour of EVs. Yes, expensive to buy, but much cheaper to run. At the point of filming, in Britain, 2025, these are still ludicrously expensive to run if you charge them by any method other than on your driveway with an EV tariff like Octopus, and you can get cheap rate and all that sort of stuff. You get 7p per kilowatt hour. Out and about, it's 50 pence up to £1 for the same electricity. That's obscene, and would make running something like this no cheaper really than the next Audi that I'm going to be driving. That's the mighty RS Q8, which hopefully will be a bit more of a home run. This has been an absolute disaster. I know VW have been struggling. I know the ID3 was an absolute travesty, and there have been a myriad of issues with it. But a lot of those are in terms of niggly, small, little, specific, detailing, technology-orientated stuff. This just cocks up in terms of the basic specification and how much Audi can think they can get away with taking the mickey out of their customers. At the end of the day, if I were to compare this to just about any other brand of SUV, particularly one from, say, Korea or China, I could get you more or less the same for anywhere from 15 to 20 grand less. And at the end of the day, all this really has in its favour are the 4 rings on this cheap, horrible steering wheel. In fact, they're not even that nice anymore. They're just flat. Corners are being cut here, too many and too deeply. Like I said at the beginning, this car's got 99 problems, but being an EV ain't one. And if this is how Audi thinks it can go forwards, well, it's not going to go very far. Madness, I tell ye, madness. Anyway, I'd like to say simply a big thanks to them for lending me a car, possibly for the last time, and of course, to you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.